Hello, everyone. I think we're live now. We're live. We're live. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's webinar. We're going to be unveiling WriterZen's powerful new secret tool. And with me today to do that unveiling is none other than Daniel. That's the co-founder and CEO of Resonance Technology. That's the company behind WriterZen. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Hoss.
How
Hi,
are you?
boss. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you over there in
I'm
UK?
in the UK. Well, it's now we're having a cold spell now. We had a bit of heat for a few days. We all got excited. We
Oh,
took
you
our
are
big coats off. We took our big coats off, and now it's cold again. That's the
finally, huh?
UK. That's
Yeah,
I'm selling
yeah,
it well, Anna. Come and visit. Come and visit.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
is it there? Do you have the every time I speak to you, you have aircon on or you have
Oh,
fans?
you have to. Oh, you have to for sure. I mean, I know this sounds very crazy, but I mean, in Southeast Asia, every day the temperature is usually roughly 30 to 33.
Wow.
Where we are at, sometime now is summer. There will be a stretch of heat wave the temperature could go up to like 39.
My
In my
God.
hometown, it's not 39. It's crazy. It's very, very hot.
I have an idea for a webinar on how to go from Europe to where you are. That would be a very popular webinar. That
You
okay.
may
So
know a lot over here.
I know. So just to bring the audience up to date, the entire Writers End team has been very busy working behind the scenes for quite some time now, and behind closed doors, and so to speak. So Dan, let us know what you've been up to because you've just emerged from this long hibernation, and
Yeah,
now you're
yeah,
here. Let us
yeah.
know what's going on.
Yeah. I think um, I think we really have been hibernated quite sometimes. I think the big thing is how fast the world have evolved and changed in the last, I think, 6 months. Particularly with the introduction of ChatGPT. I still remember it was Chinese New Year. It was February, around February, when ChatGPT really just got released, and I just watched it taking off, and I realized to myself that I mean, from this point onward, the whole world, particularly in content industry and SEO industry, are going to change forever. And
Mm,
lo and behold, I mean, we kind of call an emergency team meeting, and we say that whatever it is that we're working on today, we have to rethink everything. I mean, we I mean, as you've been using WriterZen in the past, since the beginning. You realize one thing that our original thesis is all about a content workflow where helping you doing research and then helping you to give you the kind of tool to execute on whatever insight that you got research on, right?
yeah.
But with ChatGPT introduction, I mean, it's no longer that. It's the expectation of user is no longer, oh, I get to research easier and then I have to write the thing or I have to collaborate. No, it's now about what AI could help me execute 1,000 times faster with far lesser in terms of cost of effort and resource, right? And I guess that's where we are at, and we spent the last, I think, 5 to 6 months to really redesign the thesis around writers ed, what we are, what we could be, and what we have to place our values in the next, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, so that we are not left behind.
Yeah,
So that's where we
I,
are.
I tell you what, I've got to give it to you. That was a very fast pivot because, as you say, I remember the world before ChatGPT. It was.
Yeah.
I remember the 29th of November when we all had like our year plan, and some of us have 5-year plans, which I don't like doing, and so on. And then
You
everything
can't do it
changed.
anymore.
You were overnight, everything changed completely.
Yeah, yeah.
And only as the days went on, and especially the weeks, people realized that how much that change was here. But I'm glad that you pivoted extremely quick, because this is the moment in time where a lot of people who don't move or don't move fast enough get left behind and even vanish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or sometimes you move too fast. You also get left behind as well. You can
yeah,
see that there's several tools that simply just do AI writing at the moment. And in the beginning, it seems like a really great idea that you can ride the wave of AI. But at the same time, you start seeing that all these tools, because of how easy it is to do or to make, they all got left behind as well. because
Mm.
the option become a lot vastly more, and user when they have more option, you tend to not be able to, you can't compete on that, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we have to take into account when we think about what WriterZen should be.
Yeah.
Then cannot be just another writing AI generative text generative tool.
Mm.
But also cannot be just like another research tool either, because the expectation have shifted.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of rethink how we integrate large language model or generative AI, taking the best of it and input it into what we already have in terms of solution, what data that we own, the type of things that we are building, and somehow pivot it into something that makes sense altogether. It cannot
Mm.
just be like, oh, one thing makes sense and then the other thing you have to discard it. So that's the process of, I guess, the thinking that go into this whole few months that we were kind of in hibernation.
I bet the team were happy with you when you said, "This is my idea. Make it happen."
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, in rather
It
than
sounds
team, really,
difficult.
you have to fight for your own idea. So we have a very like clear filtering system of why an idea should exist and should be in production. It's crazy. Like, so
Fabulous.
you come up with an idea, you have to tell others,
Yeah.
and then they will actually put into this scoring system, and they will go into like how impactful it is, how
Wow.
much effort it will cost, how many teams will be involved, what if we don't build this, the penalty of it, what would it be, and everything into a scoring, and then you have to
Nice.
score it by weekly. So then you realize, okay, some of it are very simple, usually get higher score, then you get to fix very quickly. But some
Mhm.
bigger one require longer time with more effort, will probably be reserved for like next quarter or something. So you have to
That's a
fight for it. Yeah, it's very democratic process. I
yeah.
don't I cannot just kind of infuse my idea and then tell a team to do it. No, I can't do it.
Well, I've got to say that's a fabulous process, that, and I hope people are taking notes because that's you've shared with us something that's very internal to your company, that process, and that's really really cool actually.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I would love to. I mean, at some point in the webinar series, we can go through some of
Mm,
our practice that really help us in decision making altogether. Because
you
a
know,
lot of time, the cost of decision increase, and then you
yeah,
tend to kind of make faster decision, but then the decisions end up being cost you a lot more over
yeah.
the course of time. Yeah.
Well, you know that's more business related, but it business in the age of AI, so to speak. It's all about survival and acting fast and making good decisions. So, I'd be interested actually. Everyone can just send us an email and let us know whether that's something that you'd also like to, because I know there's a lot of people who are also running their own business or have their own idea for their brands and so on, and we can all improve our processes. So
Sure.
definitely, if anyone's interested in that, yeah, just send those emails in because we can do webinars. Feedback is all we need. Just
Yeah.
let us know what you want to hear, and we will make webinars on that. But that would be really interesting, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a process that it took a lot of time to kind of refine
Can
over time. I
appreciate
mean,
that.
in the beginning, obviously, it's me like, hey guys, let's do this. And then I realized after a while, like, no, this is dumb. I can't. I just whatever decision I make typically will end up not the best decision.
Hmm.
But how do you utilize collective intelligence of the whole team? Oh, that's
Mm.
like another question. And it takes time, and then the whole team have to build it together, so on and so forth.
Wow.
It's very different when you are like three people team versus now
Yeah.
we have a 40 people team. The decision making process, we still want to make it fast, but we want to make sure that it's efficient. So, I mean, that's a whole other thing that we can talk about
Yeah.
at
No,
some other webinar for sure.
definitely. So let us know where this process, this fine-tuned process of decision making is taking you, and what you've been doing behind closed doors.
Yeah, sure. I think one of I think one of the way we could talk about in this webinar is we can have almost like a casual chit chat, because after this webinar I'll organize another webinar where we go in very details, step by step of all the updates that we did, why we did it, and how we can help them. We can also walk into different use cases of, let's say, send guys, you can send in all your use cases. Let's say you have a website in healthcare business, home improvement and law, health, so on and so forth. Shoot it over. E-commerce business, for example, we will look through all the use case, and then we'll probably put together sort of like a webinar, go through each use cases, and then how our tool could help you in your own use cases, and then from there we can go even more details.
How
But in
is
this,
that for an offer? How is that for an offer? You don't get that every other day. Just send us your business and we'll just show you how to use the
yeah,
tool to make it work.
yeah, we'll try to figure. I mean, we'll figure out based on our experience as well. We're working with so many different agencies. We could probably pull out some of the tips and tricks. We've learned along the way, and then how you can utilize WriterZen for your own use case. But
This
that is for the next webinar. I think for this particular webinar, it's good to have a overview of some of the new big update. And I think the best way to go to describe this, I think we should do it in a problem solution type of conversation, where we will go
okay.
into each problems, major big problems that help us to define the solution of WriterZen, of this update of WriterZen. Um, we'll start with smaller solution problem first, and then we eventually go into big huge solution which we try to tackle toward the end. I think that would be a good way, because problem are typically where we collect the feedback of all of our user network, from community, from support channel, from interview with our B2B clients, everywhere, right? And so I think it's best to go in that manner. um, what do you think of that?
That's perfect. I just want to say I'm getting distracted, but there's emails coming in already. There's emails coming in already.
Oh,
So that's going to be the next webinar. But yeah, we got some case studies here. There's people sending in. That's really really cool. Okay, no, that's perfect. An overview is perfect because it gives you that introduction, gives you the bird's eye view of what's been going on. Because um, I'll talk about this later, but I've been using the new tool since it's been in beta, and it's there's a lot going on, and it's a lot to
yeah,
go in. If we just dive into that, it can be a bit overwhelming. So the bird's eye view is the best approach, and I think everyone likes the problem and solution because at the end of the day, we use tools to solve problems.
yeah,
So if we can conceptualize that by saying, well, this is the problem that people were having, and this is what we've done to solve it. That's how we can all understand it. So that's perfect. We'll do the overview, and that also gives people a chance to then send questions again, saying, talk more about this. Because if we cover the overview and enough people want to know more about one particular area, then we can go into that area in a second webinar before we get into it deeper. Again, it's all about feedback. It's we want to make this a two-way conversation, really. Unfortunately, we can't have 1,000 people on the phone at the same time. It would be quite noisy.
yes,
Uh, but the best way to do it is, we'll tell you what we've got, and you just send us emails, and then we can react very quickly to that. So yeah, so perfect. Question solutions and problems and solutions is the perfect way to go.
sure. Before that, let me do a quick overview of some of the major update that we did. So we introduced a new tool. So keyword import is no longer there. So typically in the past, you have this tool called keyword import, where it kind of cater toward your cluster thing, right? But now we transform keyword import into what we call keyword planner. And the planner tool, now you could do the same way, where you cluster from keyword explorer, where you do filtering or whatever keyword. You can save it to a keyword list. You can cluster from there, and then from the cluster, we derive different insight. We label them differently. We derive insight, and then we kind of helped you to link it to eventually to content creator. And content creator, we also have a few major updates. One-click article generation, and so on and so forth. So those are some overview bird eyes of what's going on. But now let's go into the details of how do we derive, from what insight and what problems we derive into this kind of new solution. So the first problems that we face with is user. Have been long problems. Is that users use WriterZen can create a full content piece in a single click, and it was very difficult to go from outline to content generation. I mean, I have to admit this is definitely a pain point in which in my while I was using the tool as well. So, I mean, in the past, we tried to kind of create rather than like a AI assistant tool. So we only want to be assisting you on point where you can do, you cannot do, or you need more sort of like assisting on using AI. But I mean, as ChatGPT kind of appear and then the AI have progressed so well, we realize that it cannot be just like that. We really have to have users to create almost like a reference point, help them to generate the entire outline as quickly as possible, and so they can see a reference point as fast as possible, so they can make iteration if they would like to. So let me share screen from this point so that you
Yeah.
can see easier.
I
Okay,
just
can
want to.
you see my screen? All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the content in the past. So in the past, let's say a piece of content like this, um, confirm. So let's say you have a keyword. So this is the original view, right? Say you have a keyword that you, let's say, weight loss meal planner that you want to write content about. So in the previous version, you still can utilize our AI to generate a title. Click on title, instantly will generate different option of title for you to see. Let's say benefits, the benefit using weight loss meal planner. I could use this one. Once this open, you then can utilize AI to generate description. So generate title. Based on the title, we'll generate the description for you. So from the title, we'll generate the, maybe give you a three different description. If you don't like, you can generate more title over here. So let's say you like this description. Um, let's take this one, probably shorter. You like this one, you can change the content structure. So the amount of headings, the amount of paragraph, the amount of image, and the length of the content itself. Once that done, you click save. And so here's the view of the past, right? So once you go into here, I figure out that one of the problems users have is they have no way to start. So the time to value is very low, meaning that I know my title, I know my description, but I have no way of like just click on each of these to create my content is kind of take too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take too long, right? I want a single reference point very quickly. I want an outline that you can generate for me so that I could see right away what I can do. So that's what we create AI to generate outline. So the problem for this is that we base on the title description, the type of content that is, to help you generate an entire outline based on just this, right? Based on this, and also
Mm-hmm.
um, based on also this content as well. So the amount of headings. So the outline will actually, as you can see, there will be 7 different headings.
Mm-hmm.
The structure here has already been set. 7 different paragraph and image, well, more paragraph than that. So usually the amount of paragraph usually is long, is more than the amount I've set here. So as you can see here, you start seeing the layout already kind of set, and the structure is SEO optimized, right? You have H2, H3, the paragraph in between, and all of these are SEO optimized.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like, and if you don't like this and you like another reference point, you can just click on remove all. Oh no, you can actually click on generate outline, and then we'll ask you like, you sure you want to continue to replace the current outline? Click on
Yeah.
generate. Again, you have a different reference point, right? So this is the first update of the new tool where you will be able to generate outline very quickly. So let's say I really like this outline. I want to continue. Say save and set up keyword. So over here, one thing new. So we have rebuilt the logic of this part where we show you 3 type of keywords list. First is competitor keyword. This is where we crawl the competitor website and URLs to generate the list of keyword that they use a lot. And then opportunity keyword is where we take from our own keyword database and suggest to you
Mm-hmm.
some keyword that you should include that may not have been included. So you have some option here. And finally, suggested by WriterZen, this is where we utilize our algorithm to collect from these 2 lists and generate out roughly like 10 to 15 keywords that we think will benefit your content most. And if you look at this and you think, okay, you know what, I just rely on WriterZen to do it, you can just add the suggestion from here,
Mm-hmm.
or you can just go through here and do that work by yourself. You know, whatever you feel like it will
Yeah.
be so same thing. Just add on and then click on usage, whatever. Same thing. You can the you can actually reset to pre-add, so meaning that reset to whatever we previously adding. So you can actually play around. So this is there's a few smaller update here that you can get the list keyword very fast. Once that done, say begin writing. Oh, sorry. Maybe I do.
This is why they say never do anything live.
So when we're in here, I think this. Oh, because I this is. But so once you are in here now, let's say the content wasn't written, right? It was just
Mhm.
the outline outside, and now you have the keyword to list. When you click on the outline, it's no longer just copy to editor. We build a function called write all for me. And just looking at the outline here, you can just simply click write all for me. And now it's called one click article. So again, it's a reference point, right?
Yeah.
It's helped you to speed up time to value from the moment you see an outline, from the moment you have a title to a description, to build an outline, and then to generate the content itself. Once the content is generated, I would still suggest you need to go in and then make sure that you have your human touch into it,
Yes.
because I think honestly the ability to detect AI generated content has become vastly better in the past just 1 month. So some of the new tool has generated a far and much better kind of output where they can detect AI really accurately. So do
Hmm.
you want to be one of those websites that rely 100% on AI generated content? Because I've seen the cases of a lot of my friends who's like using AI to generate a lot of content and trying to kind of write Google on it. You may be able to win in a very short term, but eventually your ranking will kind of plateau and then
Yeah.
actually decline over time. So make sure you always double check your content that generated by AI. Make sure you always go in. Make sure you go in there. You have your human touch into it. Even though now you, as you can see, the full article is being generated, right?
Can
And
I just add, Dan? Can I just jump in there because it's such an important point. This, and you know, the thing to realize and to really appreciate is that we used to have to do this manually. Only a few years ago, when I was selling my SEO services, all this was done manually, and just this process, just being able to generate an articles. I mean, even the titles and the descriptions, the fact that you can just click a button and they just appear, and then you can just tweak them if you like, is just amazing. It's such a saving in time. But we get used that bar gets higher and higher, and the expectations go with that bar, and we get used to that, and it's very tempting to think, oh, I need it faster. I should just be able to press a button. I just
mm,
have an idea for an article, press a button, there's the article. And then the temptation is there to just say, well, you know what, I could just have 100 articles now on my blog and start ranking and put ads on there and start generating income. The problem is that the whole world is thinking the same thing.
yeah,
And as Dan says, this this is where you spend a little bit of time humanizing your content, because that will pay off. That's what will pay off in the distance, in the not so far future, because in the short term, as Dan says, that content will rise, but then you've got 1,000 people, 1 million people doing exactly the same. And in the previous webinar, we talked about storytelling in SEO and how to use that. And just to give you an example, if no one likes to read generic content, if every blog out there, let's say you have a review blog and you're reviewing tools, SEO tools, for example, um, AI generated content is going to read more or less the same. Yes, it might be a different angle, a different thing, um, but it doesn't have experience because the AI is not human. It doesn't.
yeah,
It hasn't used the tool before. So this is where you go in and you talk about your experience. This is how I used the tool. This is what I did. This is what happened to me. This is what I got wrong. This is what I learned. This is how I
yes,
fixed that. That makes your content different from the other million pieces, the other million reviews that are floating in Google. And believe me, your content will float to the top when all the others drop to the bottom.
yeah,
So you appreciate the time that you're saving just being able to generate content this quick. But have the nerve to just hold and just humanize that content. Take a little bit of time and factor that in into your workflow. It takes, someone can say, well, I can create a piece of content in 2 minutes. Yeah, but what's the long term value of that? Zero or very little. So you should say, well, I can create a piece of content in 1 hour. It's going to take me 2 minutes to generate the content, but then I'm going to go into it and then I'm going to humanize it. And that you don't have to look at that content again. It's
Yeah.
once it's done and it's personalized and it's up there ranking, you can forget about it and go to the next piece. Whereas with your boilerplate content, you're just setting yourself for a losing game.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, if you, that's point exactly, Hoss. It's like everyone are now doing the same thing. So you don't want
mm,
to be, if you want to, I mean, there's only 10 spot in the top 10 Google. And if Google can detect every piece of content, whether or not it's AI detected, you want to be different. So just purely by the fact that you write or you humanize your piece of content, that already is a very strong point that differentiate yourself from the rest of soon to be flooded with AI generated content. As
mhm,
you already see, millions and millions of piece produced every day just because AI are generating it. But I mean, you want to differentiate yourself, and the only way to do that is actually invested your time to
mhm,
make sure that you have your whole human touch.
yeah,
Yeah, so that is roughly the first problems that we kind of come up with to do that. Now, problem number two we go into is user have a really hard time utilizing keyword cluster feature due to super slow loading time, and the layout is extremely user unfriendly when it comes to filtering and classifying. Most of the time they have to export it out to filter and then to blend and then to generate content using other tool. Well, this is very painful for us to hear, but it's very, very good. It's one of those things where we have to spend like 2 months to develop a new, completely new algorithm to cluster keywords. So in the past, as you can see, if you cluster, now let's do it now. Why don't we do it now? Because that would be like a more like a live thing, right? Let's say I have a keyword. What keyword should we try, Haz?
ooh, let's say, there's so many keywords. Let's go for Toyota. Um, let's go for Toyota
Well, let's
Corolla.
just in general. Maybe house fixing,
Yeah, go on.
house renovating, house renovation.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have countries, language, search. All right. So we have a list of keyword. So in the past, typically the workflow is you got a list of 5,000, 7,000 keyword, right? And then you do the cluster. A lot of time, you have over here we have 440 keywords. Let's wait until we got 1,000 keyword. Once we load out the whole entire keyword database. Now 2005 keyword. Let's do minimum 100 search volume. Now you got let's say 50. Oh wow, 20. Let's say we got 600 keywords. So in the past, a lot of time when I do 600 keywords, the loading page would say uh, select similar 5 similar results. So we get very tight kind of result. But I think with 600 keyword, better we'll do three. And then
Hmm.
house renovation.
This would take quite a while in the old version.
This usually would actually ended up taking sharing this. Let's go into keyword planner. So this in the past would take, I think, 45 minutes to an hour
I
of the
used to
wait
leave it.
time.
I used
So
to
the
leave it.
moment, sorry,
I used to leave it running, and then I'd go and do something else, and then continue with my keyword research because it's not something that would be done quickly.
yeah. So in the past, I would actually go in there, I click on it, and then it will show me the screen of like 45 minutes to an hour. I'll be like, oh man, oh, but look
Wow,
at that.
wow, it's done. It's done.
So less than, I think less than 2 minutes now.
We should have timed this. Yes.
So whatever it was 60 minutes before is now roughly a minute plus. So that's the
Wow.
insane speed, um, uh, in advancement that we create in terms of the new algorithm. It's
That's
it's surprising even ourselves.
that's there's not even time to make a coffee. It's
Yeah.
done.
So just basically click and just look at it, waiting for like a minute or two, and bam, right away you got a list of all of the cluster that appear
And
right away in front of you. And not
just
only just the cluster, now we also even a huge upgrade in the way we label data, which we'll go in later. But the layout is completely new.
Yeah, can I just go back just 1 second, just about the clusters, because again, clustering was a hell of a job, and when you had a big campaign, I remember, and I did this more than on one occasion, you'd be staring at a spreadsheet, and of course you've got you think data starts swimming after you're looking at rows, you're staring at rows for hours, rows of data, and you start taking shortcuts and just clustering effectively. You're grouping keywords that make sense, and there's a bit of art, there's a bit of science behind it, and there's a lot of error. And
Yeah.
especially when you spend 2 3 hours on a spreadsheet and then you just like, oh, I just put them there, just put them there. And the worst thing is, you wouldn't get through the whole thing, and you couldn't do 8 hours sitting down grouping keywords if it was a big campaign. And you get up the next day and you spend an hour just trying to find where you were up to the previous day. And on
Yes.
a couple of times, and this happened to me sometimes, I would sit down, I would look at my spreadsheet, I go, oh, let's have another coffee. And I'd be looking everywhere. And I think, I actually don't know what I was thinking yesterday. And I had to start again. And that was an entire day wasted. And you've just clustered that. I mean, the clustering process is difficult. Oh, by the way, and this also removes that margin, that huge margin of human error, which actually gets
Yes.
bigger and bigger the longer you're staring at spreadsheets.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
so it's just compressed all that time, all that hard work
Yeah.
into, well, you've seen it, into seconds, into a minute plus.
Oh, it's
So
crazy even to ourselves because we used to do the same thing.
there's a
And for
huge
those who don't
going on.
know,
Yeah,
so sorry for those who enter in and don't know what cluster means. It's essentially the process where you group keyword with similar semantic meaning. For example, as you can see here, house remodeling near me and house remodeling near me. How come these keyword are very different? A different keyword. uh oh, I don't know about this one, why is it? But let's say for most of all of this keyword, if you click on the sub overview, meaning the ranking of the keyword itself, you will see that the top 10 of this are very much similar to the top 10 of this, so they carry the same sort of top 10, and similar to this as well. So the position, the URL appear on all of these are the same. What does it mean? It means that if you want to, if you have a group of keyword like this, all you need to do is then just write one single article that contain all of this keyword, and you have a better chance to rank for all of them. So just like the website bbb.org here, they rank for the first keyword. They also the same article, they rank for the second keyword. The same article, they rank for the third keyword as well.
so we
So
started we started with 600 keywords, and those were all loose keywords where you don't have to create 600 articles. You can
yes,
you can cluster that.
yes, that's correct. So with 600 keyword now, you only need to write 112, 120 articles instead of like the whole 600 article. So this process is typically insanely tiring to do by hand. And then previously we developed an algorithm that would do it, but then it's very slow. So now we upgrade it completely, and the new design, you are now able to kind of see cluster in a lot better way. You could actually go through and filter cluster a lot easier and select which one for your next step. So that is the second problem that we face with when, and that's kind of how we uh we walk through it.
For people who are just seeing this for the first time, the keyword planner, because I know you're going to go into it more, but this might be the first time somebody is seeing it, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, I can see a topics column, I can see a clusters column, I can see the keyword data," and what are those insights that I can see there that weren't there before? We're going to get into all that, but just realize that the power of this tool is absolutely insane, and just understanding the clustering. I mean, even the old version with the clustering, where sometimes I'd be clustering a massive campaign at the very start, and it would say like, it would need 200 minutes to cluster, and I was super happy. I was
Yeah,
super happy with that. I was
yeah,
like, wow, 200 minutes. It would have taken me a week and a half before,
yeah,
and I would have made a mess of it. But now it's just incredible. And again, you have to appreciate how much time and how much value, and the fact that it's been done so quickly, but it's being done properly. It's removing that human error, and you have to be able to balance that with your own time, with real human time, to spend on the finished article. It's a worthwhile investment, because again, I want to go back to this because it's so important. It's so easy to think, oh, now I can just populate my
yeah.
blog, and but everyone else is doing exactly the same. So you have to do that and just appreciate how much work you're actually saving.
Yeah, and also as you can see here, we design it with topic and cluster instead of just cluster in the past. So in the past, the view you see is just a bunch of cluster that laying out, and then you will have to export it out because you have to go through hundred and hundred of them with different pages, and just to us it just doesn't make sense in term intuitively how how someone would be able to organize and pick out what you want. So we want to build an entire new different filter so then you can filter this cluster. And also we trying to create this thing called topic. So topic and cluster is actually come from the concept called hub and spoke in topical authority. So hub and spoke essentially is, hub is sort of like a main topic that you want to target, and spoke is all the smaller topic subtopic that kind of support that hub. So every website typically will made up of hundred of different hubs and thousands of different spoke, right? And then five, for example, it will look almost like a flower, right? The hub, let's say here, professional home remodeling, and this will be the hub. And then from here, you would have all this as a spoke. You put them together, and then you internal link them so that when Google bot go in, you will be able to they will be able to instantly know this is the main hub because all the small spoke, which is the small article outside, they link toward this big article out there. So then all of the hub then connect to each other. So you have professional, you have budget home, you have creative house, some so on and so forth. So all of this big topic, big pillar that what we call hub, then can connect to each other, and then that support by different kind of spot, which is article in within. Um, all of this we can go into details in the next webinar where we can share a little more because I know this is like a lot uh, of stuff, right? But yeah, so this is the second problems: the relay layout and the speed of clustering that now far vastly faster than that was in the past. It's crazy. I mean, 2 minutes, 1 minute versus 60 times faster. 60 times. That's crazy. 600%.
It's just unbelievable.
1,000%.
Instead of making coffees now, when a lot of software in the back in the past had a well, you get a little screen that would say go and make a coffee. They would preempt that waiting time. Now you need to have a flask, so by your side, so you don't need to actually leave because it's works so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually astonishing, and the view, we'll get into it more, but the view is absolutely priceless.
So now the next problems. Well, this is not so much a problems. It's one of the things that's on my mind, on our team's mind for a very long time. So as you know, when you do keyword research, right? Keyword is like a search queries, and then typically if you use any tool out there, let's say even SEMrush, Ahrefs, any other keyword research tool, what you have is a keyword which is a queries like this, and then you have the tool will give you sort of like two dimension here like this, right?
Mhm.
First, it will give you a search volume, which is the current like how many times that query is being searched per month at a given location, and then
Yep.
give you a trend, which is like a historical search trend of search volume. It give you sort of like a PPC, CPC, which is cost per click per each queries, right? And also the PPC competition, which is a competition of ads, of CPC on that particular queries. But the problem with that is search query is very subjective. I mean, we live in a subjective world. So when you label a subjective thing with just objective data, it just doesn't give you enough of the storyline. It doesn't give you enough insight to determine how you should treat, how you should come up with solution on this kind of queries. So what we come up with as a solution for this is that we design an entirely new way of labeling these queries. So we don't just label them in objective data set like volume and CPC, which still is still there, but now we are able to introduce, first of all, is intent. So we are able to label each queries. We are able to know whether or not is informational intent, they are transactional intent, they are a commercial intent, or they are navigational intent, right? And from the intent, we are develop even a step further than that. What we call is micro intent, and micro intent is a step deeper than just intent. For example, if a query is being searched for, I'll show you here. Let's say a query is like house renovation cost is informational intent. People are looking for cost price, right? But it's also the micro intent of it. It will be expansional, meaning that they are doing research. Some of the time, the could be there could be a like
Definition.
house renovation TV show. It's still an informational intent, but the micro intent now is entertainment, meaning that people looking for entertainment purposes, information. So under information alone, there's five different micro intent. There's definition, people looking for definition of things. Entertainment, people are looking for a way to entertain themselves. Expansional, meaning people looking for research deeper. So if you, let's say, you ran a house renovation cost, means that if you search for these queries, they're very likely they will continue to search more queries, right? So on and so forth. So with each intent, we break it down into even deeper micro intent level, where as you label more, the story of the query itself become more and more revealing, right? And then after we define intent and micro intent, we're able to label them even further, which is going to buyer journey of that queries. I mean, buyer journey breakdown to what we do now is breakdown to four phase: awareness, consideration, decision, and post purchase. Right. So awareness is when people are looking for information. You don't want to write an article that force them to buy stuff at this stage. For queries that belong to awareness stage, you want to make sure you deliver the information that people look for in this phase. Consideration is where they're already aware of the problem that they have. They are now consider between each option. For example, listicle type of article, where they, okay, I know that's the type. Now I'm choosing in between some of my option, right? Decision is where they want to make the decision. So queries that actually get into decision phase is where, let's say if we have one here, house renovation for sale. Well, now, hey, I'm definitely deciding to buy the house, so they belong already into decision phase, right? So as you label more on search queries in more subjective term, the story of the queries itself become even more clear. We can even go even further. One of the the biggest problem I run into when we do agency is, out of the list of 10,000 different queries, we don't know which queries, or we don't know how to filter our queries that belong to other people's brand. So let's say I do SEO for Costco, right? The first thing I want to do is that I want to make sure every keyword that belongs to Walmart is not there, right? Buy steak at Walmart. Now you don't want that keyword to be in your keyword list. So that's one of the things that we are able to label as well. It's called brand name. So as you can see here, we can actually label our keyword that actually from other people, other brand as well. So YouTube house renovation, we know is YouTube brand, right? So whatever queries that have a brand in that queries, we are also able to detect them right away. And from here, that's where we bring the cluster view into a whole different level, because now you can see the entire filter become a whole lot more of a storytelling way, because you now can tell, first of all, if you do serious organic marketing, you will want to do non-brand. So you want to look at this, you're like, okay, I want to make sure all the keyword, all the cluster I do are non-brand. I want to see all the non-brand keyword around here. Secondly, I want to look at this list. And as I can see that with this list of keyword in the keyword house renovation, it looks like the search behavior are people looking for informational the most. Now let's visit informational first, right? Subtype is what? Now this is very cool concept. Subtype is where, when sometimes you search for a keyword and the top 10 search result are typically turn out to be e-commerce. Now, if you do organic marketing, you do not want to mess around with keywords that actually are e-commerce result. And that's what we call product page. So we crawl through the content of the top 10 ranking URLs, and we detect whether or not they are e-commerce or they are article. And from there, we suggest you, okay, these are all the keywords that actually are article type ranking in. Then you have a better chance for you to rank if you write article only. But if it's product, probably better for you to write maybe an e-commerce product page, landing page. So let's say I can now click on article, I click apply. Then I can go even further into buyer journey, and I click OK. I want to just go to awareness. I don't want to do see consideration. And bam, now from whatever original topics you have, you only have 17 topic uh, that are all informational keyword. They are all article type. They all belong to the awareness phase of buyer journey. And from here, you can actually just sort out yourself what you can do with each of these. But even up to this point, right, Horst, you can see that the data still is just a list of bunch of keyword. And
Mm.
typically for us, if you are doing organic marketing, you look at this, you still have to, okay, now my brain have to work. With this keyword, with this article is informational. What should I write? Right? What you need is a reference point again. What should I write? The type of article, the type of content that would actually fit best with this search behavior. And that's why we come up with what we call suggest content brief. So the way we build suggest content brief is almost like a prompt sequencing, right? Because we use so many different technology to label this keyword. Now that we are able to label this cluster, we are able to build a content brief that is as closely related and as accurate as possible to the type of search query that people have here. So you click on it, take a few seconds, and right away, the tool will give you a suggestion. Oh, where's the suggestion? I click on something else. Oh, here it is. So as you can see, the tool learn about the list of keyword. It gives you a target audience. It will tell you that, okay, if you write this piece of article, it should target homeowner planning who are planning a renovation project. It also gives you the type of author perspective you should take on when you write the article itself. Because depending on the target audience, you want to write under different author perspective. Not all the time you will write under first person. Not all the time you write third person. But you want to take on a different role when you write a certain piece of content to increase your authority and your trust in your article. And we suggest you that as well. Author perspective is experienced contractor or interior designer. Also suggest you the writing tone. You click on this, you see a list of different writing tone that you can actually choose as well. Content format is a how-to guide. These are all the content format that we suggest. And we show you a content angle in which you can pursue. Learn about the average cost of home renovation and how to budget your project, including the cost and gut of remodeling house, renovating entire house, or remodel specific area like interior. So this is essentially where we try to eliminate almost any dead time that any user would have to have in the process of planning a keyword list, right?
Wow, that was absolutely astonishing. And I think anyone who's been doing SEO for some time, especially pre-chat GPT, could have just sat through this bit of the keyword planner and just just shook his head and or her head and thought, okay, this is it now. This is it. I have a million things to say, and I'm trying to order them in my head because there's so much. I think it's fair to say that this is where the magic happens. This is the core engine. This is a powerhouse of a tool. I think I think it's probably one of the only tools on the market that brings together quantitative and qualitative data in an interface like this. And I'll explain what those things are now. But my word, you've incorporated the concept of depth, and we did a collab not so long ago. We posted we did a blog together in LinkedIn. I think we should shoot a email with a link to that for anyone who's interested. And essentially, we're talking about depth in analytics and a new way, a new approach to SEO to rank better, and it's by incorporating this concept of depth. And depth essentially stands for data exploration provides tactical high points, which essentially means the deeper you go, the more you know.
Mm.
So, everyone knows that SEO tools and content marketing tools haven't really changed in much in a decade, in a decade plus. It's always been about search volume and and you have the keyword difficulty metric, and that's where a lot of people start because it's easy. Keyword difficulty makes things easy because you can see a score of, let's say, from 1 to 10, and we understand that it's easy to conceptualize. Oh, this is a 6. Oh, it's not too hard. And so we like that. Um, the problem is, anybody who's been doing SEO for a long time or for long enough knows that knowing how the search volume and how difficult or how competitive a keyword is simply not enough information to go on in order to secure rankings, not by a long shot. And to give you an example, if you have a keyword that has decent search volume and it's reasonably low in terms of competition, well, on paper that looks like a perfect keyword, but you might go for that keyword and you might write an article. But if you're trying to if you're trying to rank an article where in the SERPs for that space all the SERPs are product pages, then you probably got the intent completely wrong because Google thinks the search intent behind that query is commercial and you're writing an informational article. So every SEO has this process where invariably you have to have a manual process. You're using whatever tool you want to do your keyword research, you're gathering the best keywords, but then you have to go and check each keyword in the SERPs just to see what the landscape looks like. What does that keyword actually bring back? What is Google saying, And the other side with that as well is that sometimes there's a space where there's a lot of new things going on. For example, the longevity space and the personal medication, personal
Mhm.
health. There's a lot of new things going on, and there isn't enough content. So to give you an example, in the longevity niche, I have a blog that's something that I play with every now and then. There's something called the Project Blueprint. It's interesting. It's this
Yeah.
guy that's investing a lot of money on reversing age. And it's interesting to read, but that was pretty new. So there was hardly any content. So I started creating content for that and ranked very, very quickly. And there was a ton of people searching for that. And I've just given that away now. Everyone's going to be like, I'm gonna use WriterZen now to rank for that and outrank Hos. Um, but go for it. But here's the thing: um, if there isn't enough content, then maybe everyone has the search intent wrong. Now, Google still has to show something. So if you search for Project Blueprint and there's only 15 pieces of content, even if it's the wrong intent, Google has to populate the SERPs. Now, it doesn't happen so much now, but in the early days of Google, that's why sometimes you search for something and half the results would make sense, but half the other results in the very early days of Google didn't make sense. That's because it still has to populate those 10 results. Now, with this tool, if you understand the search intent and the micro intent and the position of the user and the searcher in the buying funnel, and you get the search intent and you get all those things right, then you're the only one in that new space that's got the intent right. And Google knows what the search intent is. It's just that the small piece of content that is out there doesn't serve that intent perfectly. Well, you're going to rank very well in that space. So the concept of depth, you've incorporated this incredibly well into this tool. Um, and as I say, with traditional tools, you have search, you have what's called uh, quantitative metrics. It's a
Mm.
hard word to say that. I'm not going to say it again ever. So you have search volume, you have you have trend data, you have keyword difficulty, and those are numbers. Those are the numbers behind a search query. But then you have the deeper metrics, which are insights, things
Yeah.
like what's the buyer intent, what's the micro intent. Again, as Dan was explaining, if somebody is if you have a bunch of keywords and you can see in this tool that you can see the micro intent is definition, then that's somebody who's not looking for the micro intent is not expansional. It's actually the opposite. They're not doing research, and they don't want more information. They haven't read a piece of something, a piece of information, and they think I need to know more. It's actually the opposite. They just want a definition, and that's best served with a snippet. So that kind of query is the kind of query where you look for something in Google and you read one of the snippets, and that's it. You're done. So you wouldn't spend any time creating an article for those kind of keywords, but you wouldn't know that using most of the tools out there because you don't know what the micro intent is. So having this power in this dashboard to start with, it means you don't have to go to the browser now and start doing manual searches for those keywords to understand the landscape. You actually
Yeah.
get a really nice visual here, and you have the numbers behind the search queries, which is the quantitative metrics. I said it again. And then you have the insights, which are the qualitative metrics. So you have the complete story. Now you have the story behind the keywords, which before you didn't know. And now again, people only know what they know. So, or as they say here in England, you don't know what you don't know. So you have the tools, you work around them, and you don't question them anymore. So everyone looks at the keyword data, the keyword search volume, the difficulty, and you just go with that. And it's only when you see this and you see that there are actually deeper insights that we can gain from digging deeper
Yeah.
and deeper, and here are the insights. And you only then you realize that, oh my God, I didn't have the complete story before. How did I ever rank? And then you start to see that a lot of times you ranked. That was because people weren't doing a good job, or because there was a bit of luck in there. But this gives you it gives you incredible control, because as Dan said, you can very quickly sort your keywords, filter them out, go for branded keywords or non-branded keywords, just target one particular search intent, and
No,
in
another thing is, I mean,
mm,
sorry, is another thing you can see from here is that overview of the market that you're trying to play with as well,
yeah.
right? Because let's say you have a list of 10,000 word and you cluster it instantly from the filter, you'll be able to see a very clear picture of what's going on
Mm,
in that market. So if you see a market that is very highly informational intent, there's a weight of high informational intent very high. There's a higher chance for you to kind of rank your organic marketing effort. If it is more of a decisional phase, where it's like, let's say I was looking at micro lending, for example, is one of the phase that one of the industry that we're looking at. Every queries there are very much focused on decision. If people search for queries, they already want to make a decision. So if that's the case, then maybe organic marketing, maybe writing blog is not so well. It's not the best way to do it. Maybe you should just run ads, just run an insane amount of ads on these kind of things, and it may perhaps because the appearance on the top it likely lead you to conversion faster. So
brilliant.
those are the kind of insight. I mean, there's multiple facets of this because a single data point acquires now. You have not only just search volume, you have cost per click, which is a very important data dimension. It shows you how many time people search, which is the scale of the demand, and then how much people are willing to bet, which is the value of the demand. And then you have like micro intent, your intent, buyer journey, so forth and so forth. It really, as more dimension add on to it, more decisions you have to you can take, and the higher
Mm,
quality decision you will come down to. So instead of before, you have like two dimension. Just search
mm.
volume and then maybe keyword difficulty. But that's extremely objective. in terms of data dimension, it doesn't give you enough to really kind of come up with the story. And that's why only when we are able to label this, we are able to come up with the content brief. Because without it, the content brief means nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever come up in the content brief, it just like chat gpt. It's like, okay, tell me what should I write about this. It will give you, today is give you a how-to guide, tomorrow
Yeah.
give you a blog post, the next day it will give you, I don't know, a product page, you know.
Yeah.
And by labeling everything, you diminish the risk of large language model giving you random stuff.
Because the content brief is actually pulling the data from the insights of those
Yes.
keywords, the actual search intent, the micro intent, where the searcher is in the buying funnel is pulling those insights into it. And that's what's coming up. And in the content brief, I noticed that you also have the angle, the tone. The thinking is removed. Anything that can be done by the machine is being done by the machine so that you don't have to spend, so that you can think on higher level tasks. And it's saying this is the angle. This is because this is what the market wants. This is where they're at. This is what they're looking for. This is their intention. So here's the angle. Here's and it's all being pulled from real data rather than and I just want to say that you mentioned something at the beginning of the webinar, and that is that with ChatGPT and everyone can now quickly build a tool with an API to ChatGPT, and they're just getting ChatGPT to generate content. But the way a large language model works is by predictive text. It's a little bit like your phone. It just, if you say to it, once upon a time, it will say the and then was, then it chooses the word that is most likely to come after that word.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
it works. And that's why people think that ChatGPT hallucinates or tells lies. It doesn't. It's just predicting words, and because it can't think, it can't think.
Because
Oh, I give the wrong answer.
yeah.
So
So that's why the whole thesis of us is always about reference point. I
hmm,
don't want to, I don't think any tool should do it for you, but it should give you as much of a reference point and as clear of a reference point as possible. Because every reference point gives you the ability to make better decision, not to do it for you. Because anything that's do it for you without reasoning ability in the long run is not going to help you to win, in the long term. And for me, it's all about how do you build something sustainably, even with your blog, even with your marketing and everything, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
There's
So
the
yes.
smart way to look at this, just to put together what you just said there, is to understand that where your job begins. The tool is not doing your job for you. The tool is doing all the stuff that you don't actually want to do, but it's really important. But your
Mm,
job begins. You are still involved in the process. If you want to rank and do well, you are still have to be part of the process. But you have to
yes.
understand where your job begins. Let the tool do all the work and get you to that finished article, and that's where your job begins. And once you understand that and you're okay with, yeah, I have to spend an hour on an article if I want to make it incredible, you have all everything that you need, from deeper insights to just the ability to create articles that really connect with that search intent. In fact, the fact that you have all these deep metrics now, it's almost a crime. It's almost criminal to just put out boilerplate, because you've got all the search intent right. You didn't have to do any of the research. You got all that. You got the micro intent right. Just spend a bit of time personalizing it, because everything else is perfect, and you're just setting yourself up for success. So do not avoid that point. But what I wanted to say was, there's so many tools out there now that generate content, but they're just using the language model to spit out words, and everyone's doing that. And the disconnect there is that, you can ask one of those tools. They're very thin tools. It's just a front to Chat GPT. And you can say to it, well, generate content on this, but this is actually what matters. What's the keyword that you're giving it? And that's what you've got a tool like WriterZen, where you can do your keyword research, and it's actually going through a process to filter down the best keywords. And only from that point is when you start using AI and generating content on keywords that are proven. Um, when you just have a tool that only generates text, and it's only doing it through a large language model, then you have to think of the input that where are you getting your keyword, how are you doing your keyword research. You can't just come up with a keyword like anything that you want, put it in there, and get it to spit out predictive text-based
Yeah,
content and expect it to do well on Google. And that's what a lot of people are doing, which means it's good news for you, because you have the ability to do it right.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Okay. I think we are a bit over in time, so we're gonna quickly go into the next problems. I think
Yep.
the next problems we have was, I mean, it was one of the biggest one actually, is the connection between the tools. So we kind of based on the data we look at. I mean, in the past when we built WriterZen, we wanted to be an entire workflow, a seamless content workflow for everyone to kind of just go from researching topic, researching keyword, moving to planning those, cluster, and then eventually creating the content on it. But to be very honest with you, I mean, in the past, I tried myself as well, because when we originally built, the tool was so independent, and it's just like a tool set. So when we try to do it like between two, the flow is quite painful, right? And the data indicated as well. The data indicate that when user go into the tool, when they start with the first tool, they go into the second tool, and then they kind of can't really go to the next tool, but they have to export out, and they likely use other tool as they go, and they typically only use WriterZen for certain things and not really the entire strength of the workflow itself. So that's where we kind of come up with like, hey, we have to revamp this, and that's why we turn in keyword import into keyword planner. And now it start with research, which is topic discovery, keyword explorer. Then you go into planning the keywords. So you have a list of keywords that you pick. You go into grouping them, clustering them. You go into planning. Planning is picking out what and where and how, what type of content, and it's just a content planning. And from there, we give you a link to go directly to content creation. So if I have a content brief here, that's pop up, I will then be able to click what the word called, the button called create article. And if I like what I see here, I don't want to change anything. You can change, any of this. But if you don't like to change anything, you can create article. But the thing about create article here, oh, I think there's a bug of this part that need to probably fix. Let's see, go down, create article. Oh, we still have the thing. Okay. This one of the bug when we launched the new one. But what you can see here, oh man, maybe let
Let
me
me
let me
just say,
go.
while you're working on that, let me just say something. 'Cause I've got so many emails here, and I just want to say one thing. Thanks first. Thank you for sending all these emails. When you send an email and you let us know what industry or what space you're in, just to give you an example, because I can see some of these emails. If you say you're in the building industry, sorry, you're in the home improvements industry, which I've seen quite a few there. Um, give us a little bit of information, because there's a big difference between a sole trader, somebody who is just a man in a van kind of thing, where you just go in and you serve smaller clients, than a company that has 10 or 20 vans, and they're actually doing it's a different kind of job. It's a different industry. So sorry, it's the same space, but you know what I mean. They're going for different clients. So let us know a little bit, because it does help as well, because it would obviously depend if you're going to do a keyword, an SEO campaign, and you're a sole trader, then more or less the kind of clients that you want in your catchment area. So that's going to be a different approach to a big company that wants to capture, let's say, landlords, and they want to do building maintenance. So just give us a bit of information in there, so that can help when we do the use cases.
Yeah. I think this is just one of those like UI bugs that we would have when we do some of the updates currently. So it's probably be updated right after these things. But as you can see, you can actually the ability here. Sorry about the part here that's got cover, but there's a few things you can do as you over here. One is you can choose right away the project that you're working with on here. Making sure, please make sure that you choose the project when you create a project. The project location and language is very important, because if you pick whatever the location and language of the project itself, the content will generate in that language. So multi-language is now in WriterZen as well. So let's say you click this one project. Again, sorry, you can't really see here, but what it is can't really click here either. Oh, here we go. Oh man, just just bug.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Because each of these areas is quite big in itself. We could probably do one webinar just on the content creation.
Yeah.
We could do a webinar on the keyword planner on its own. You starting with a case study, and the next
Yeah.
webinar could be because we can talk about the ins and outs and go deeper, and then the next
Yeah.
webinar
Yeah.
could
For
be about
sure.
the content creation itself. So, as
I think the
remember,
idea here I want to share. Sorry, I think the idea here I want to share is the fact that you now can create the article directly from Keyword Planner instead of having to go to Content Creator. Even though Content
mm,
Creator now you can also do the same thing, just one click and you can also generate. It's a lot faster, multi-language supported, so every language is out there. We also support, but the key is you can go directly from here, pick your project, tag the team member that you want to overview or see the content itself. You will have two options here. You can't really see, but if you click on it, you'll see two options. One is that create description and outline, and the other one is write the whole article. So if you just want create write the article title, description, and outline, mean that you want to tag a team member or a writer, a content writer outside your organization to, hey, I want you to write the content based on this outline that I built or the AI built. And so you make sure that the content piece is original, or you want the AI to write the whole article for you, and you want to tag your team member in to make sure that they will overview the article, add on the things that is make it humanized, and also to make sure that it's all, and then update the status for you. So all of that are included in this update as well. But I think we should do in details on the next webinar. This
mm,
webinar, I think it's better to kind of just show you the problems that we try and solve with the new updated, and because there's so many as you can see, like I even forgot about the ability to do multi-language now with
yeah.
content creator. And another thing here is you don't just need to write one single article, but you if you see and you like what we create with the content brief, you like this insight, you could multi-select, right? And when you multi-select, you will notice that the number here change as well. So once you're done with multi-selecting of what cluster you want to execute on, simply click on generate the content brief, and we'll generate the entire content brief of every single cluster that you just chose. And
Wow.
you can actually multi-generate content from that multi-select as well. So five cluster, you can create the five article out of the five cluster chosen that you chose earlier.
So
Just
as
just
you
so,
said, this solves the what to write. You've got the keywords, you've got the clusters, and you've got the search engine and everything. But you think, what do I write? Well, this solves that problem.
yep. So then the job is then the AI will basically do all the things that helped you to generate all the way to the content itself. Your job now just to go revisit all of that, making sure you're doing your touch things, and then the content then become extremely valuable and at scale that is unimaginable before. You can't even do this with a lot of other tool when you scale, but you can't really make sure that the content come out is actually correct,
Mm.
right? So yeah, so I think those is roughly all five problems that we try to solve in this update. I hope that enough. I know we kind of go over time a little bit. I'm very sorry, guys, but in the next webinar, what you could expect is we will go in details exactly step by step. What keyword planner, the different use case of keyword planner. We'll go into very detail of all of this filtering and how you can make use of the filtering. What are all of the export? How do you kind of utilize golden filter in keyword planner as well? And how do you bring all the way from keyword planner with multi-select and then multi-generation article go to content creator, and then you see your result just kind of beautifully lay out, and then from there we'll show you how you can work with your team in content creator so that you can actually multiply the sort of productivity kind of by, I don't know, 100 times output really. Yeah.
It's incredible. So the key thing here, the key takeaway is that you now have a complete workflow inside WriterZen. It's every single aspect of content creation for SEO. It's covered there from keyword research, from topic research. That's actually an important distinction because people don't rank because of keyword authority. It's because of topical authority. So we start with topic research, map out all the topics that we need to rank for. Then we figure out the keywords. You cluster them here. and it goes straight into you create the content. You've got a complete workflow. This, I mean, you know, years ago I used to use 5, 6 different tools, and that was normal. I didn't think and complain or think, oh no, I have to use 5, 6 different tools, and they were all subscriptions. They were expensive, altogether. Um, it was just part of the job. And now the fact that you have everything in one under one dashboard, and as I say, you've got I'm going to say those words again: quantitative metrics and qualitative metrics,
Quantitative and qualitative.
all in one place together. Is an absolute game changer. But the fact that just that tool on its own with that data would be mind blowing. But the fact that it ties into that complete workflow, and you can then generate the articles, is astonishing. And as I said, there is high value here. This maximizes the value of your time, because what you can do here is you can create articles in bulk, as Daniel just showed you. You can create 20 articles, and you can research all the keywords. Well, I say research. The tool is researching for you. You're just pressing buttons. You just press an idea. You just type an idea. You press a button, and everything is done. You cluster them. You create the content briefs. You generate the articles, and that's where your job begins. And if you have 20 articles, then a week well spent would be to just think in your head, Monday to Friday, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to go through each article, I'm going to personalize them, and you've got 20 pieces of really good content by the end of the week that you can then publish on your blog. And that is a job well done. That's not a
Yeah,
waste of time. And don't get distracted or by thinking, oh, everyone else is just publishing really quickly, because they're just publishing thin content. And as
yeah,
Daniel said, that will catch up with them. And it will be a scenario like when the big Google update, the infamous update, which took a lot of my sites down back then. Because back then, we weren't doing spammy SEO. It's because that wasn't defined. Keyword stuffing was normal. That's what you did to rank. No one said it was bad until Google came out and said, well, okay, this is bad now. And then all these sites went down, but I would, that was a long time ago, and everyone learned lessons from that. But that's going to happen again. And when that happened, there were so many people saying, "I've lost my livelihood. I was making money. I was relying on that money. I was putting that money into this, into that, and now it's all gone. I'm no longer ranking." Well, that's going to be the case again. So don't let that be you. You've got a tool that does everything for you. Understand that your job begins at that point, and then you sit down. And as I say, that would be a week well spent when you get 20 pieces of content, and you can scale now because you know the content, the research and the content is actually solid, because it's addressing the right search intent, and as well as everything else. So now you can scale and actually start building a team if you
yeah.
haven't got one, and that's a good waste. That's a good use of your money and a good use of your time. To if you don't want to sit down and do the content, but it's a good way to do it where you sit down and you start doing the content and then get a bit of revenue in and then start building a team slowly and let other people do that. But it's
Yeah.
everything is here in one dashboard.
Should we go to Q&A?
Yeah, do we have time? Is it still Tuesday? Yeah, it's actually, yeah. Let's go to the Q&A. We
Do
got some questions we can have
I
on with.
think we should do a quickly go through the Q&A, and then maybe some of the question we can take care. We'll try to answer on either
Absolutely.
post or the next webinar. We'll try to do webinar now a lot more regularly.
Yeah.
I think we'll. I mean, what I'm aiming for is maybe every 2 weeks. So then
Hmm.
discuss all kind of things. Because that's update. We're gonna discuss like this in details. We discuss different use cases, and perhaps we can probably come up. But I will need you guys' help to give us idea things that you are looking for, things that are kind of bothering you, things that problems you have, that we could actually look into and analyze, and then learn, and then also do a webinar and sharing what we think that we could help, and also some of the general best practice that we see in the overall this space. And then
Excellent.
the idea from you guys could actually really help us to generate more and more better webinar quality and the ideas of that as well.
Yeah, I think two weeks is a good time. It gives people enough time to go play with the tool, figure out some things that they might not know. They might just hit support for that and resolve it. But there's other things where they might think, yeah, I want to know more about this, or even have suggestions. Then that's a good time span to get those questions in, and then we can then address those in further webinars. As I see, a lot of people, most people are still on the webinar. Thank you very much for spending that time with us. Uh,
Thank you. Thank
This is
you.
a huge update. But we're going to be very quick with this, and any questions that we don't address now, don't worry, we will address in the next webinar, or we'll do something.
Yeah, I think we have around 10 minutes for Q&A until
Okay.
we reach the an hour and a half mark, which is way over time of what we plan to be an hour. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys. But will rather than consider backlink building too? I think not in a very short few in foreseeable future. I mean, we are at the end of the day still a tool that is focused more on content insight, intelligence, and generation, and we would like to stay that way for a bit. Any specific tips to use keyword planner? I think this one will answer in the next webinar where we go into very details of how keyword planner structure. I mean, today you kind of have a rough idea of how we come up with the idea, why we
Yeah.
think this new labeling method will help you get better insight and get sort of like increase your ability to make better and higher quality decision when it comes to organic marketing. But to go into more details, let's do an entire webinar on that.
Hmm.
Are any of these in the future? NLP recommendations, competitor self-analysis, check advanced content outline based on competition and user intent, internal link suggestion, easy to follow checklist, NLP content optimization, content planning, schema data explorer, Chrome extension. Wow. I think we should really I mean, whoever this is, could you send us an email
Yeah.
on some of this idea? We really like what you share here. Shoot an email at support@writerzen.net, and maybe explain for me some of the things that
Amazing.
you share here in maybe one or two lines. So because it's easier for us to because it's hard for us to kind of assume by just like a single
Yeah.
phrase like NLP recommendation, because my definition of NLP recommendation could be vastly different than yours. So I really would like you to just send us like an email, because some of this sounds really, really good,
Yeah.
and we definitely consider it to put in our roadmap.
Can I
So
just, yeah,
yes,
can I just say about and also keep in mind that things like internal link suggestion is really hard to implement at the tool level, because it's about your content. Your content, your blog may have 1,000 pieces of content, and maybe you've just generated 100 pieces in the current tool, and you're asking it for internal link suggestions. Well, it can't see your blog. You have, if you're using WordPress, there are some plugins that do that. I'm not recommending any. I've used one in the past, and it's recommended that you go in there and you change it yourself. I decided to do it manually myself, but it's a nice idea. But just keep in mind that there are some things that are hard to implement, because that particular one, you'd have to look at your blog overall and see all the content and understand all the content in order to then make those internal link suggestions. Okay.
yep. Um, it will it easy to find easy easy to find to rank keyword like low fruits. So I guess it's like ability to find keyword that is I think low fruits or AI. I think the idea was would label the URL. So I think that the keyword, they have the SERPs and they label the SERPs, and if the SERPs appear to be forums or social media, you have a high chance to rank the keyword. I guess that's the idea. I think it's one of the things that we are trying to work on. The root cause of the problems, we're trying to look at the root cause. The root cause of the problem is actually the ability to label URL, right? So what you're saying is that if you know the result, if you can label the result, you can then know whether or not the keyword is easy to rank. So that's one of the things that we are working on as well. So you can see we are able to label whether or not is the article versus product. So one of the next step is to label in more, in a higher details. And as you can label in a higher, let's say you know it's e-commerce, it's brand, it's social media, it's forum, so on and so forth. It will give you a better chance of seeing. It's just another filter that we can build on Q Planner. So that's one of the things that we'll explain more about the content brief. I guess that's what we already went through, right? The ability to came up with content brief is not just randomly using the generative AI to just click, but because we come from the fact that we are able to label the keyword and the cluster. So if we know this group of keyword in the cluster is informational intent, is expansional, people are looking to research more, is article type, is belong to awareness phase. So then we can come up with a content angle and the target audience that fit exactly with that kind of intent, with that kind of micro intent, with that kind of buyer journey to fulfill the user insight. So the idea of content brief is actually that. And once you can see the content brief, you can then generate the article exactly like the content brief you set,
Mm.
right? So when you click create article, it's not just create article random, but it's create article based on the content brief that you develop.
In the content creation webinar, we can actually start with the content brief and just go through the content brief and then go into the actual content creation.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can cover that. We can cover that
Yeah.
really well.
Well, please explain how keyword trends and seasonality can analyze using Keyword Planner. I think one of the filter we have in there is what we call keyword trends. So keyword trends right now is pretty low tech. I mean, it's just kind of like an algorithm where we detect keyword that have trending search volume in the past 3 months. I think one of the things that we probably could do is we can do a filter called seasonality, where you have a list of, let's say, 10,000 keyword, and we can detect out of the
Mm.
12 past 12 months what season the keyword actually pick in volume. And so you can actually filter, okay, I want to see keyword in winter season. And you will
Nice.
see this very clearly in plumbing business, right? So
Mm.
during winter it's like so low, during summer is very high activity, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So then I guess it's one of the filter that we could do, is one of the idea that you could probably play around. Again, it's come back. It's a filter of the keyword. It's the keyword data dimension. Again, it's another data dimension of the keyword itself. So
That's a really cool idea. How can this benefit my online presence or marketing strategy? Well, any SEO, any content marketing, any marketing online is going to benefit your marketing strategy. Um, the key thing here is with the keyword planner that you have those words again, qualitative metrics. You have insights that you don't have anywhere else. You have insights next to the metrics, so you have the complete story of your keywords. So ultimately that's going to help you create better content. Better content equals better rankings, and that's how it affects your online presence.
yeah. Will WriterZen implement keyword difficulty in Keyword Explorer result? Currently, we're going to click one. Yeah, probably not in foreseeable future as well. Maybe we can do a simpler version of keyword difficulty, but we slowly lose faith on this data. I mean, as you could probably, I mean, once we have URLs labeling, I think that is a better indicator of a keyword difficulty. So you will be able
Mm.
to see like, oh, right away a keyword is easy. If you combine golden filter, we'll upgrade the golden filter algorithm probably in 3 4 months as well, and URL label, so you know if there's a keyword with high search volume but the ranking result are all forum or social media, well, now you know it's a very good keyword to target, right?
Yeah.
And keyword difficulty is low. But then if other sector is high, then you know it's a hard keyword to tackle. So I mean, we were rethinking keyword difficulty metrics. We were thinking to rebuild that metrics. So once, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we will actually go into this in very short future. Any difference from the older version? I think this is a completely new writer Zen. What do you
We've
think?
seen that today. We've seen that today with the difference.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a vast different from what you see in the past. Please bring back WriterZen back on Absolute lifetime deal. I don't think we'll go back to Absolute. I mean, we need to grow the business and do it. Lifetime deal is not something. It's good for business and good for us in growing in the future. I hope you understand. I
Yeah.
don't think any business. I mean, it's very good in you initially go into the market, but once you get to a point where you know you need to grow into a sustainable business, is not what we will do likely to do
Th-
in
There's a lot of, I mean, to be able to have a tool like this in your tool set that does this for you, it takes a lot of resources, and people have to get paid at the end of the month, and you have to appreciate that you can't just pay a one-time cost and expect that company to then sustain itself just to keep providing you the ability to do this. It's at the end of the day, every business needs that. So those lifetime deals are a way for SaaS companies to get exposure in the market.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They don't go back to those, and there's a reason for that. It's because they need to keep the lights on, and we need to understand that. And the thing is, if you're paying for the tool that does this, this tool then makes you the ability to make money.
Mm.
Um, and that's, you can sell the SEO as a service with incredible data that you have now, or you can do this for yourself, or if you're a bigger company, you're doing this for your own brand. But this equals revenue. So there is an investment in that. It's how everything works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I want to see more webinar on this feature in the future. Yes, so I think that's gonna be what we're aiming to do. I think, Haas, I hope we could just do let's do this every 2 weeks. It will be
Absolutely.
fine. And
Let's just keep going.
yeah.
Don't switch it up. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, so I think that will be the plan. I guess that's the question we'll do for now. Any more questions, please just shoot it in, and then we'll try to answer it by emails or post it up on our social media. We really need your feedbacks, and I'm very sorry, since it's a big launch. Typically, we'll have a certain different kind of bugs. Maybe filter sometimes doesn't work, maybe this and that. But those are all typically will be resolved by itself in like 2 3 weeks. And like most launches and most big features, those are expected, right?
Yeah.
But I think the key point here is that you get to experience something quite different.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any tool in the market that do will try to kind of do what we do in a different thinking process. So hopefully
Hmm.
you enjoy that, and I'd love to hear your feedbacks to help us
Yeah.
get the tool better in future.
This is very fresh out the oven. It's just come on. We could have waited a lot longer, but this is big. You can see that, and it's good to let the community know this is what we've been working on. This is what you can
Yes,
do now.
we're not running away. Don't worry, guys. We're right
Yeah.
here. I'm right here.
That's it. That's it. So just to wrap this up, Dan, very quickly, let us know what's next for Writer Zen.
Oh, I think there's several things. So at the moment, as you can see, a few big things that we can do right away. Well, one of the first thing is to build more connection to content creators. So right now, is you can only generate content, let's say from Keyword Planner, but what we do next is to build connection. Those point also from Keyword Explorer. So from Keyword Explorer, when you go in, you could actually just see a keyword that you like, and you just click create article. We'll do the same thing. We'll label the keyword. We'll look for keyword that is similar. We can add it automatically for you, and we can generate the content brief for you so that you can have a highly tailored sort of piece of content afterward. So that's one of the things. Another thing is, I mean, as you can see, when you label keyword better, you can also kind of tell what keyword fit with what type of content. A lot of time, like I said, you'll start seeing keyword that actually fit better with ads, right? They are decision keyword. They are very competitive, a lot of big website ranking for them. But you know that if people go in there, if you can build a really good landing page, it's a product page, you go in there and they see the result, they will likely make decision right away. We suggest you just do ads. Then if you do ads, we can actually see from that point, and then we can generate the ad content for you as well. So automatically create different kind of content output based on the insight you got from the search behavior. So those are one of the other thing. I mean, beyond just ads, there could be social media, but instead of just like go on ChatGPT and just, hey, create me a social media, we us again based on the insight we get from the search
Yeah.
behavior. Yeah, I mean, those are some of the things that we are working on. A bunch of other big things. I mean, we already have a roadmap, which I will probably reveal as we get more in our future webinar.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is going to be one powerhouse. I mean, incorporating. I like the idea of a lot of people have kept. Some people focus on ads, other people focus on SEO. It's a very smart strategy to actually understand that there is an overlap between the two. And as you say, sometimes for certain keywords, you might be able to get a faster ROI by doing some ads. And when you can generate ads that are tied into real data, that is actually using those insights to create the copy, you're going to have very effective ads. And again, it's something that you can quickly do to test a campaign
Yeah.
before you actually commit time to it. So
Even marketing is multi-channel, right?
exactly, exactly,
You can't just rely on organic marketing. It's everything.
exactly.
it's branding as well. You have to see what people talk about your own brand. Are they complain about it? They support about it? And if they do complain, do you have content that actually fit with it? So it's like
Mm,
consumer behavior, consumer insight. It's ads on different platform. It's social media. It's branding. It's organic. It's everything. So I mean, and but what I'm trying to say is, I think all of the output have to come from the insight you get from the correct
mm,
input, the search behavior, what people actually
that's
look
right.
for online.
So it's based on real data rather than disjointed. That where you if you have a thin tool that just does one thing, it's just not connected to anything.
Yeah,
This is all stemming from the same root. So you have consistency in everything from your brand voice, your tone, to actually the data that actually serves real queries. So yeah,
yeah.
really, really cool. Fantastic. I
I think
think we're going to have to wrap it up because people have put up with a lot this today already. Thank you so much. Remember to check out, if you haven't already, the tool at writerzen.net. And of course, you can check out the SEO course. All the course material is free on the academy. That's writerzen.net/academy. And we'll be back. Thank you for the my inbox. I'm gonna have to hire someone just to look just to look at the emails. But thank you so much. We will see you in the next webinar, and we'll look at your feedback first and decide what the next webinar is going to be. Whether we need to do another overview or slice the overview into different
yes.
pieces before we go really deep.
Yeah.
And yeah. So you let us know, and we're here to serve.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
guys. Thank you, guy.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Thanks, us.
See you, Dan. Thank you.